So just maybe while we're waiting, sure. We are here at the show. How many of you have visited zSpace's booth? Have you had a chance to have a look? Okay. So we refer to zSpace as Screen VR, VR on your desktop, something like that. And the reason we wanted to come today and talk with you was because there's a pretty big surprise that we've found, and Shauna alluded to it a little bit earlier. Educators are the early adopters of virtual reality. So education has been adopting and installing VR labs, doing pilots all over the US and also internationally. And why would they do this? Why is it that they bought the dot matrix printer or the Apple, or why are they the group that decides to add this to education? It's because they see things progress. So as we talk with educators and they see zSpace, they understand what we know, that the human-computer interaction is changing and that their students need to be prepared for that. They need to be prepared for the workplace and also prepared for their future. And so this, as they look at zSpace and at HMDs, they are driven to incorporate and understand how to incorporate this into their schools and districts. So first, for those of you who haven't seen zSpace as I'm talking today, the piece of hardware you see here in the picture is zSpace. The image that is raised there out of the screen is just showing you the experience that you have when using zSpace. You pick things up actually out of the screen and you can interact with them. You can cut through them, take them apart, do all sorts of different things with those tools. And I'm going to attempt to show you a video of that, which didn't work. So can you hit play for me?
Development for zSpace is really forces you to account for things that you don't normally account for when you're building an application. You have to think about a viewer's comfort. You have to think about a completely different interaction model because you can directly interact with objects. You have to think about user input devices that have multiple degrees of freedom. Developing for zSpace ends up being a really powerful tool to learn how to develop for VR in general. Spanning education, health sciences, gaming, e-commerce, engineering and design, zSpace has limitless value across a wide range of markets which are well poised to revolutionize.
So the reality is that virtual reality is real today in schools, and it's a place where we have been able to work with some partners as well as do some of our own development, which we hope not to continue doing, so we're hoping all of you will consider some development opportunities. But I wanted to give you just a quick anecdote about the photos that are here on the screen. So in the top left, this is a photo from a medical student lab. zSpace and other virtual reality technologies are being used in medical education, specifically to support cadaveric or cadaver anatomy courses in the first year. Also now being used for patient education. Those of you that were here earlier got to hear a little bit about what's happening with VR in medicine, and it's very exciting. The bottom left is a school on the East Coast with a group of high school students that decided that they wanted to teach the younger students at their school physics through their zSpace lab. So this is them working on their experiment building in zSpace, preparing for those younger students so that they could do some teaching with them. And then on the right side, these photos come from early on when zSpace was first started. This is after the first pilot. Our first pilot was in 2013, and this group is actually in 2014, working in their classroom with zSpace. And as you can see, the environments are varied, the ages are varied, we're having a great time. But we continue to hear that we want more, right? So zSpace has managed to break into that market and to provide something that is definitely sufficient for people to buy. But what is really necessary is more content, and I'm sure that's been a theme here throughout the conference because VR and AR content is something that needs to grow. In education, the three areas that are really focused on where the educators see the value of virtual reality for learning is in simulations, and then abnormal anything. So as the teachers talk to you, they'll say, okay, that's great. you can see a normal human body, or you can see an engine that's functioning, or you can look at an ecosystem that looks as it should. But really, where VR has the potential to have a big impact is when people can interact with things that are not normal, because you can't typically teach those. As a teacher, those are the things you have trouble bringing to the classroom. And so they're looking for opportunities for virtual reality to expand the content that they're able to provide their students through troubleshooting and assessing things that are broken. We have a fracture model, that's a scan in one of our activities, and it's wildly popular because it's a broken bone that the students can see and pick up and move around and take apart. Just a bone, you know. When we put it in, I didn't have that idea that it was going to have that much impact. And then finally, game-based learning. And this has been something that you can read thousands of research articles about, right, just in education in general. But as teachers and administrators are talking with us about what they need, they truly believe that virtual reality is a different type of learning when it comes to game-based learning, because you're directly interacting, you're influencing that environment and that space as you would do in the real world. And so it has potential for deeper learning. So with that said, we wanted to thank our partners, and one of our partners actually was here today, I think potentially just with a video, but Lytle 3D is here, and Cyber Science 3D is another software partner. We actually have quite a large list, and some that we couldn't add because we're making an announcement in about a month about our new product releases for this fall. But we, as a company, are seeking developers to help us meet the needs in education. zSpace as an organization has an SDK and your APIs that you need to develop. We have a plugin for Unity 3D, and we would like to talk with you and talk about you developing for zSpace and creating some of these solutions for education. My role at zSpace is the Director of Education and Product Experience. I started with the pilot program at zSpace and have worked on building our product since that time. So those of you that do have an interest in education and what experiences we've had and what topic areas are really in demand, I'm quite happy to talk with you about that. Happy to engage and support you in any way to bring more VR to the classroom. So that is all I have to say. Are there any questions? Sure. We don't have a plan to move toward an HMD. We do have other hardware plans, but not a plan to go to a head-mounted display, yeah. Yes? Mm-hmm. Today, one person is tracked, and the secondary viewer is wearing just a 2D. Basically, you put the right eye in both eyes, so they're just not seeing the stereo image, but they're still able to view. So we discovered in the pilot program, I was nervous. I had 6 zSpaces at that time to try to run a pilot program in a class of 30 students. And I was very nervous because to us it was a one-to-one experience. And very quickly in the classroom, it became clear that that wasn't how the students thought of it. They wanted to be looking at things, showing each other things, and working together on the zSpace. So we worked around a little bit. We started out by saying, well, what if we give them the stereo glasses without the trackers? Will we cause discomfort? That wasn't a good fit. So we ended up practicing with a few other things and going with just the 2D observer glasses. And then the kids will swap out and take turns. But it's been really neat for us to see that the screen time you're spending with zSpace isn't a person to screen time. It's people together working on zSpace to accomplish and bringing things out to discuss. So.